Welcome! Today we're making a classic and festive fruit cake, a rich, moist cake filled with a blend of dried fruits, nuts, and warm spices. This is the kind of cake that gets better with time, whether you're serving it for the holidays or enjoying it with a warm cup of tea. Let's get started and bring this delicious tradition to life. Alright, let's start by getting all of our ingredients ready for this delicious fruit cake. First, we've got 1.5 cups of mixed dried fruits, think raisins, currants, chopped dates, and dried cherries. Next, add half a cup of candied peel, which is that citrusy orange and lemon goodness, and half a cup of chopped dried apricots to give a little extra sweetness and texture. For some crunch, grab half a cup of chopped nuts, almonds, pecans, or walnuts work perfectly here. And we can't forget the zest. Zest 1 orange and 1 lemon for a nice citrusy brightness. We're going to soak all of this in a 1/4 cup of dark rum or orange juice for some depth and rich flavor. Now for the cake batter. You'll need 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're also adding warm spices, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon each of ground allspice, and cloves to give that comforting, holiday feel. In the wet ingredients, you'll need 3/4 cup of softened butter and 1 cup of brown sugar. This will bring a lovely caramel flavor. You'll also need 3 large eggs, 2 tablespoons of molasses for richness, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And to bring it all together, we'll add half a cup of milk to keep the batter nice and smooth. For the glaze at the end, set aside a 1/4 cup of apricot jam and a tablespoon of water. Optional but delicious. If you want to soak the cake after baking, we'll use a 1/4 cup of dark rum or brandy. With these ingredients prepped, we're ready to start baking this amazing fruit cake. First, let's prepare our fruit mix. Take a large bowl and add your 1.5 cups of mixed dried fruits, raisins, currants, chopped dates, and dried cherries. Then toss in half a cup of candied peel for that citrusy zing and half a cup of chopped dried apricots for extra sweetness. Next, chop up half a cup of your favorite nuts, almonds, pecans, or walnuts, and add those in for a bit of crunch. Now zest 1 orange and 1 lemon, adding that fresh citrus aroma right into the bowl. For some extra depth, we're pouring in a 1/4 cup of dark rum or orange juice. Give everything a good stir so the fruits and nuts are well coated. Cover the bowl with plastic wrap and let it soak. Ideally, you want this to sit overnight, but at least give it 4 hours to really absorb those flavors. Now it's time to prepare our cake batter. First, preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, 160 degrees Celsius, and grease a 9-inch cake pan. For easier cleanup, line the bottom with parchment paper. In a medium bowl, sift together 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and our warm spices, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, and 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Set that aside for now. In a larger mixing bowl, cream together 3/4 cup of softened butter and 1 cup of brown sugar until it's nice and fluffy. This should take about 3 to 4 minutes. Now add in 3 eggs, one at a time, beating well after each addition. Don't forget to scrape down the sides of the bowl as you go so everything mixes evenly. Then mix in 2 tablespoons of molasses and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract until smooth. Finally, we'll gradually add our dry ingredients in batches, alternating with half a cup of milk. Start with the flour, then milk, and keep alternating until you finish with the flour. Stir gently, and your batter is ready. Now, let's bring it all together. Your soaked fruit mix is ready. Take the bowl and gently fold the fruit and nuts into your prepared cake batter. Make sure everything is evenly distributed. You don't want to overmix at this stage. Just gently fold until the fruits and batter are well combined. Once that's done, transfer the batter into your prepared cake pan. Use a spatula to smooth out the top, making sure the batter is spread evenly. This will help your cake bake evenly and give you a nice smooth surface when it's done. Time to bake the cake. Place your cake pan in the preheated oven and bake at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, 160 degrees Celsius for about 1.5 to 2 hours. Remember, this is a dense cake, so it needs the low and slow approach. After about an hour of baking, check on it. If the top is browning too much, loosely cover it with aluminum foil to prevent burning. The cake is done when a skewer or knife inserted into the center comes out clean. Once it's ready, take the cake out of the oven and let it cool in the pan for about 10 to 15 minutes. Then transfer it to a wire rack to cool completely before you move on to glazing. Let's give that fruit cake a beautiful glossy finish with our apricot glaze. In a small saucepan, add a 1/4 cup of apricot jam and 1 tablespoon of water. Warm it over low heat until it melts and becomes smooth. Once your cake is completely cooled, brush the glaze over the top and sides using a pastry brush. This gives the cake a lovely shine and a touch of sweetness. If you want to take it a step further, you can decorate the top with a few extra dried fruits or nuts for presentation. Now your fruit cake is looking amazing and ready to serve. For an extra special touch, you can age your fruit cake. Once it's completely cool, wrap the cake in cheesecloth soaked in dark rum, brandy, or sherry. Then wrap it again in plastic wrap and aluminum foil. Store it in a cool, dark place. Every few days, unwrap it to moisten the cheesecloth with more alcohol. Let the cake age for at least a week, or even up to several weeks for deeper flavor. When you're ready to serve, slice it up and enjoy. It pairs beautifully with tea, coffee, or even a dollop of whipped cream. And lastly, let's talk about some helpful tips to make sure your fruit cake turns out perfect. First off, when it comes to soaking the fruits, the longer you soak, the better. The dried fruits will really absorb the flavors of the rum or juice, making the cake richer and more flavorful. If you can, try preparing the fruit mix a few days ahead of time. Letting it soak overnight is good, but a couple of days will give you that extra depth of flavor. Now for testing the cake. Fruit cakes are dense, so it can be tricky to know when they're done. Instead of just relying on the clock, make sure to insert a skewer or a knife into the center of the cake. If it comes out clean or with a few moist crumbs, your cake is ready. If the skewer has wet batter on it, it needs more time in the oven. Next, for storage, fruit cake is one of those cakes that actually gets better with time. You can store it in an airtight container for several weeks. If you're aging the cake, check on it occasionally to ensure it stays moist. You can even wrap it in cheesecloth soaked in more alcohol to keep the cake moist and flavorful over time. As for flavor variations, don't hesitate to get creative with your fruit and nut mix. You can swap in dried cranberries, figs, or even different kinds of nuts like pistachios or hazelnuts. It's a great way to add your own personal touch to the cake. Enjoy your homemade fruit cake.